In a broken wasteland, come to my fire and place your blood and steel.
What's going on, metalheads? Thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode of the Metal Forge. My name is Mark Jackson, and I am your host. Thank you all each and every week for tuning in. This has been a blast. Here we are on the 6th year. Yeah, I've just been kind of emotionally exhausted this week. I'm going to keep it kind of short and sweet. Claymorean is our guest this week, Vlad from Claymorean. They started as Claymore back in the early 90s, but we get into all that. Some cool stuff. They had their most recent full-length album called Eulogy for the Gods back in 2021. But they do have a new full-length coming out here soon. Hopefully, I believe it was available this past Friday in Metal Forge land. So you might check that out. We're going to play some awesome videos of theirs. We're going to get back and I got a new template that I'm trying. So if you like it, please sound off in the comments below for the interview template. We're just trying some things out here in the Metal Forge just to see what's up. Trying to make things look a little different and all that stuff and all that jazz. Everything's a work in progress around here. So thank you all for tuning in each and every week. Keep kicking ass, keep taking names, keep doing all the things and all the stuff. So if you see your fellow person out there that's being oppressed or put down or anything by somebody else, tell them to go fuck themselves. If you see ICE in the area, yell La Migra, tell those losers to get a real fucking job, and tell them to go fuck themselves. Everybody's cool. Everybody should be cool with one another. It's fucking dickhead politicians and shit like that drive us against each other in all actuality. So fuck those guys, and let's get into some Claymorean. All right, metalheads, we are being by Vlad. Whoa, wait a minute. I am like completely starting this one all crazy today. um, what's going on, metalheads? We are being joined this week in the Metal Forge from Vlad Invictus from Claymorean. Awesome legacy band started in 1994 by this gentleman. And before we get into all of that, dude, how are you today?
Thanks for asking, Mark, and I'm really honored you invited me to be on your show. I'm feeling great because recently I had a minor surgery, so our new album, has been delayed for 2 months in recording because of that. But
Oh, wow.
I'm feeling reborn right now.
That's awesome because you know anytime anybody has a surgery, I always look at it as like a it's almost like a factory reset in a way
Complete.
because
Yeah,
waking up after, even if it's under like a local anesthetic, just in that area, you still feel weird afterwards for the
of
most part,
course.
for a couple of days and whatever. And the first surgery I ever had, and the only surgery I've ever had, was about 10 years ago. And it was wild. Like waking up after anesthetic. It's a thing that I don't ever want to go through again, I think.
Of course. But for me, that anesthetic was the best sleep I had in years.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there
Because
is that.
that's the good side of the surgery. But everything else is, of course, we all get better eventually from
Sure.
it. So yeah. So
So,
that's in a nutshell. Yeah.
well, right on. Glad you're feeling better. Glad that the album is coming out now. And by the way of the CD release, the spring of 2025, is there a set date for it yet? Because
Unfortunately,
by the time this airs, this will be the end of January. So,
yeah, I think by the end of January we will only have mix finished.
okay, cool.
So yeah, that's going to be, I think, a nice accomplishment after all that happened during these past 2 months. But in a way, I'm relieved because now I'm just waiting for a producer to mix it and for us to be satisfied with the outcome and send it to the labels. Hopefully, they will print it in few months after it's been sent to them, and I I would love to have those CDs and vinyl records at our tour in Germany in April, but slim
Hey,
chance. Yeah,
there's always the good chance that the CDs would always be there because CDs, when they seem like they took years, not years, but they took months to print.
yeah.
When you were when people would do like 1,000 albums or more, it almost felt like it took forever to get them back. And now, you know, it's so
Instant. Yeah.
instantaneous. And now we're just waiting on vinyl. And vinyl takes months to get back now, because of the shortage and whatever. I don't know if it was actually a shortage or as it was, shortage of workers.
Oh,
Um,
it's
but
I think it's probably a high demand at the market right now, and
sure,
a few of those factories that practically print vinyls are still around because after I think 1990 or something, some year, they were practically out of business. So
sure. Oh
I
yeah,
think,
yeah. I mean, there's albums that that never got put on vinyl until a reissue happened.
yeah, yeah,
Like everybody, I believe the Black Album was never originally put on vinyl until it was reissued for vinyl when they started reissuing the old school stuff.
yeah.
Just to
Not to
use them as
mention,
the example.
I think
And
most stuff in the 90s and for a good part of 2000s weren't
oh
released
yeah,
on vinyl. Yeah.
Yeah, I know that
I think
classic corn. I know that classic corn album was never put on vinyl. No,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'm not in a hurry.
define the
Yeah,
classic corn album though.
I'm not in a hurry to hear it. I think I never heard Korn album in my life. I mean, kudos
We
to
mean it
people
in the
who like
nicest
it.
possible way, of course.
Yeah,
So this is the follow-up album, Eternal Curse, the follow-up to 2021's Eulogy for the Gods.
yeah,
And it seems like since the okay, from the beginning, which was in the mid 90s, it took a little bit of time to come out with a full-length album. And then by the time the full length came out, you all had went on hiatus.
yeah. Well,
Because a
it's a
decade in a
sad
band
story.
is a long time. A
It's
decade in a band is a super long time for and that a decade of doing anything, whether
yeah,
it be a day job, a committed relationship, a band, which is several committed relationships. That it's kind of hard to do. So the band went on hiatus. You picked back up and you had an album out in 2013, and now here we are another 10 years later. We're back, we're releasing another album. So tell us out in Metal Forge land about the craziness of what made you want to get Claymorean back together and what made it the right time.
well, at the time I founded the band in 1994. It was called Claymore, and
Sure.
that band was very different than what Claymorean is right now. Not just member-wise, but musically. It was more like power metal oriented stuff that was going on at the time because after grunge went big on a scene, a lot of power metal bands, which were for me, uh, I think, prolonged hand of traditional metal from the 80s. So you had all those Gamma Rays, Gravediggers, Blind Guardians, Virgin Steel, Manowar, and stuff like that. But they were pushed in the underground. So Claymore had that kind of a sound. But since we're from Serbia, ex-Yugoslavia, we didn't have money or instruments, and we practically didn't have a band as it should have been.
Sure. And I
Yeah,
think a lot of people in like the UK and the United States, a lot of people don't understand that. Like a few years ago, I had a gentleman on, Hugo from the band Witch Trap out of Colombia, and he was telling me the plight of not necessarily having instruments, and the ones that when they did get instruments, they were so bad that like the quality was just terrible. But when they finally got new and good instruments, it was almost as if they had to relearn how to be a band.
yeah, of course. I think that that financial part always kept us undercover, and I immediately, having seen that the band won't function without a proper lineup, proper equipment, stuff like
Sure.
that, I put it on hiatus almost immediately in '94. So I went on to play in other bands, and I played even in punk bands, hardcore bands, not necessarily heavy metal, because heavy metal was never huge in Serbia. In Serbia, the alternative music, punk music, and stuff like that was always above anything metal.
Sure.
So
That's cool.
I needed to fulfill my need to play music. So I was in other bands, and uh, as soon as computer technology and internet started being, digitalized on the level that
Sure. The
yeah,
prevalence.
So in back in I think 2002, I recorded a demo just on my computer of a song I wrote in 1995 or 96. I never stopped writing songs in that period when
Sure.
Claymore didn't exist. And in 2003, we got a call from small label in Belgrade, and they wanted us to record the entire album. And it was not what I wanted to do because we didn't have studio or professional equipment. It was just me, my guitar, some programmed drums, and my brother who programmed some keyboards. And that was the first album of Claymore in 2003. And in 2004, it was again no more band because the members didn't get along with each other, and we constantly needed to find a drummer or a keyboard player or a second guitar player, stuff like that. So I called it quits. And when my good friend Boris, who is Claymorean's producer since the very start, opened his own studio because he's an audio engineer, uh, that's when I was in a mood to record the second album of Claymore, which would have been out in 2004 or 2005. So I re-recorded it, all those demos, and recorded professionally once again. And that was the final Claymore album called Lament of Victory. After that, I said, okay, Claymore is no more. And I changed the name of the band to Claymorean, totally new people in the band, and we
And
started in
new way to go.
2014. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So, which is totally cool because you realize that it's like, okay, this idea is from here to here. And, from say 94 to 2014, yeah, the idea was there, but we could do so much better.
Of
And
course.
enter Claymorian. And wow. Uh,
Thank you.
I'm excited because, being label mates with Ice Howl for Stormspell Records, I'm excited to hear the new album and to hear everything that is gonna have. So,
Yeah, Storm Spell has so many great bands on their
oh,
roster. So
absolutely.
I'm privileged to be connected to that label, and I don't think I heard a single bad album that Storm Spell released. Honestly, it's not
No, absolutely
because
not.
we're
And it's crazy. There are so many bands that he has that are
yeah,
on there. And just like if you look at the metal archives, it says something like 58 bands are signed to the label
yeah,
right now. And it's like, wow, that is a lot of bands.
yeah,
But when you look at the quality of music that Stormspell is putting out, it is on that higher level. And it is such a sweet tastemaker label out there that for the ones that are the not necessarily end all be all the to the next level up, like the Shadow Kingdoms and the No Remorses and things like that. I never imagined in when I got into music how even just finding a small independent label to put your music out to before getting to a place like a Shadow Kingdom, which is even more of an independent label, before getting, because back in when I thought about it, people were like, oh, we're gonna get signed to so Nuclear Blast or whoever, and these are like
Century
fresh labels at the
Media,
time.
yeah,
Century Media, yeah, in the
yeah,
late, especially in the late 90s, because they were the more independent, like the No Remorse and Shadow Kingdoms of that
yeah,
day.
of course.
And now those labels are mega labels too, and they're just, they're still awesome. But finding places like Stormspell, to me, that's great because it keeps the music scene alive no matter what.
Yes. Yes,
and it allows music to flourish.
I completely agree with you. I think Danny, the owner of Stormspell, is like quality about quantity always. So
Oh yeah,
uh,
and his quantity is, to me, putting a, even if you had 58 bands on your, and you're working over 58 releases at any given time, that's a lot of releases, but the quality is
yeah,
so there.
yeah,
That is what's the, and his, he works with everybody individually, and that's great. He doesn't say, "Hey, Vlad, I want you to work with Steve over here." He's going to work with you directly.
yes,
And that's what I think is the coolest part of metal, is when we all get into things and we all get into them directly. Like me doing a podcast and still being in a band on Stormspell, but I'm talking to another band on Stormspell that,
yes,
is, in my opinion, anything over 20-year a 20-year age in a band is considered a legacy band, regardless if you've changed your name or not.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, I look at Claymorean to be a legacy band, even if it, because the roots were there in the mid 90s, and that's what's cool about it,
yes. But
is
if
that
you
a
look,
lot of these bands,
yeah, if you look at
what's
our
that?
band members, if you look at our band members, I think my vocalist, who is at the same time my wife, she was like 3 years old when Claymore started. When you look at my drummer or my second guitar player, they were like yet to be born at the time Claymore
And
was.
that's cool
Yeah,
though. That's got, for being an older musician, that's got to be really cool to find people who are younger and are like, this is completely badass, and I would love to be a part of it.
yeah, absolutely. And they make you feel much younger than you really are. So I'm like grateful to those three people in our band who are. I think my brother, who is bass player, he's 4 years younger than me, so he's also in the seasoned category.
That's
But
so funny that you say it that
yeah,
way, though, because that's
those
how I am with Ice Owl, because I am the old man in the band of Ice Owl.
really,
And
really.
yeah, and
Oh,
everybody else is, so we stretch between 27 and 42.
that's
And
fine. That's perfect. Yeah,
yeah, and it's great because you get so many different ideas of, okay, well, Kyle, the 27-year-old drummer, is completely badass, looks at things at a completely like new age mentality of like, well, you could do it like this,
yeah.
and cites off some like cool ass like
It's
idea.
familiar. Yeah, it's familiar
Yeah.
because our drummer is the youngest in our band, and he's like that. He's like, there's a new way to do these things. Okay, I'm like, oh yeah, show me, please, because
Yeah.
I'm an old fart stuck in the past. So
Well,
I'm
what
just
was
kidding.
wild
I'm just
is I
kidding.
noticed it. One of the things I had noticed the other day is I was talking about doing the recording thing, was so I use an 18i8 Focusrite recorder, or interface, and I'm like, yeah, you just do it like this. And I explained it in a way where it was like when I was recording on my Porta studio, on the cassette tape studio. It's like, oh, you
Yeah,
just do it like this and bounce it down. And then I was
yeah,
just like, no, you don't have to do that this day and age. And he like explains, it's like, no, you just do this. And I'm like, oh shit, you're right.
yeah.
And it's like
It's
turning in
much
an eight,
simpler. Yeah,
finding the
yeah.
way
Than
to
before.
actually work something around. And after all these years, and it, was brought to me by someone who was not raised on the technology, which is great.
Yeah, and nice interface if you use Focusrite, because I use it too. It's a great interface for the buck. Yeah,
It
yeah.
is. It
I,
absolutely is. and you can get some pretty good you get pretty good sound out of it. And before using this, so my ultimate goal in the Metal Forge is to have some in-person interviews as well and be able to house up to 4 people in here and doing the whole round table discussion type thing. And I had the 2i2, and it's like, yeah, that's cool, but I got to daisy chain mics together. So having a couple of different SM7Bs, daisy chaining them on the same channel, et cetera, et cetera. And then it's like I finally made the upgrade to the bigger unit, and I'm like, yeah, this is nice. Now what can I do band wise?
Yeah,
What can I put in here, and can I bring in the drum set and record the drum set live? And I can.
you could,
And I
yeah,
can. And I love that. So and that is not a sponsored segment. Hopefully one day it
of
will
course,
be.
yeah,
Hopefully
yeah.
one day it will be. So Vlad, what does 2025 have in store for Claymorean?
Well,
You'd
first of
mentioned
all,
earlier
yeah,
some shows in Germany.
yeah. First of all, we will need to focus on the release of the new studio album, which is called Eternal Curse, and I just hope it won't be a real eternal curse for us because it takes so long to finish it. But
That's really it.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
really it. Because when you're we're doing the same thing.
yeah, yeah. And
That's
when you
yeah,
yeah, and when you look at the things uh, from the perspective of life and see how something so at the first glance insignificant could change one's life in a second, like it did with me because of the surgery. And
sure.
it also happened when we recorded Eulogy for the Gods in 2020, because I had an acute pancreatitis at the time, and it was horrible, horrible experience. So each time I'm recording an album, something must happen to my health, and
Oh
I'm like,
wow.
I'm getting too old for this shit, apparently. But
You
no,
know,
no. Joke aside, I think it's my involvement in the production is very huge because our producer, I mean mixing engineer Boris,
mhm.
he is in fact a true mixing engineer, and he will master the album too. But the production part of everything is 80% mine. So I'm like, okay, the guitars need to be recorded like this, bass guitar like this, vocals like this. I just don't know how to mic the drums because Boris does it for us,
Sure.
and I'm present during the drum recording, and I'm listening to everything Marco is playing, and uh, after 5 takes he makes for a single song, I'm the one who puts everything in place, editing everything, finding the best played part, best fill, best, uh, because we're doing it.
That's
Yeah,
intense.
yeah, yeah,
So that is intense because going from takes, like I could only imagine. And like like I'd brought up earlier, the Black Album never being on vinyl was watching the recording of that album and seeing where they were splicing cassette tape fills
yeah.
into other 2-inch tape and
The
getting the
razor.
best,
Yeah,
yeah, razor cutting it. And Lord, I hope we never have to go back to that. But you're digitally doing the same thing.
of course. That's
And that's a
practically
lot. That's
what. Yeah.
painstaking. That takes a lot of time.
Yeah, I also edit the entire guitar parts, vocal parts, everything. So everything is in my hands, and then the finished product goes to Boris, and he has the pleasure, like a gentleman, to mix it, everything, and
Right.
hopefully, if I make some fuck up in the editing, he'll do
He'll
something to.
he'll catch
Yeah,
it and fix it and yeah,
yeah.
do the thing. And
But
see
we
that's
are doing
where
essentially the old school way, just digitally. Yeah,
yeah, it is.
old
Yeah,
school recording, but
It's done
digital.
entire old school, just with being able to see it on a screen. But and that's where I think people don't understand the issue of like why albums cost ten to $15 or on vinyl $20 because the amount of work that even still goes into it that most quote normie people who don't play an instrument or have never been in a band, they don't get the idea behind how long it actually does take to produce something,
Yeah,
and why it might take 4 years for a band to put out another album. It's because you know the hard painstaking work it takes with editing, with getting perfect performances and so on and so forth.
absolutely. And let us not forget that nowadays we don't have the luxury of being signed to a label that's giving all those money to
Sure.
you as a band, sending you on tours, and you spend like 200 days a year on a tour, and your only job is to make some new songs. And back in the 80s, heavy metal was a new thing. So when you
Well,
had,
that
yeah,
and the non-recoupable label. When
yeah,
when labels turned into credit card companies and were
yeah,
started advancing money to the bands, that's when the quote music died, I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
Because
definitely.
the label when they would give the money out to the bands in the original day where it would be non-recoupable, they made their money back anyways, but then they found a way to double dip.
Sure.
And that's why I've always wanted to put self-publish and self-produce everything is because if they're doing it, I can do it. The only issue is finding the distribution.
Yeah, yeah.
So you'd need a distributor to do it. And that's really the
Luckily,
hardest part.
Storm Spell has good distribution.
Yeah,
Luckily,
absolutely he does. And that's again, back to somebody like Danny, super sweetheart, looks for the quality in the bands. He has so many awesome bands like Viper Witch, is a killer band. We
great
Icehouse
band.
played with them at Legions of Metal in 24 and completely
Oh
fun
man,
people to be.
I'm so jealous of you in the States because I couldn't be at Legions of Metal or at Blades of Steel or Hell's Heroes or some of those
Man,
great
like
festivals.
it's the
Yeah,
same. Well, honestly, it's the same way for me because like I would totally love as much as I hate major like huge festivals, I would still love to go to Bloodstock and Vakin and
yeah. Me too. Me
Download
too.
Fest.
Yeah,
And I would still love to do those, but then again, I would still love to do like a Sonosphere or Summer Breeze. Those
or something like
festivals.
this. Yeah, or something like this. I forgot. I have a
Metalers?
T-shirt of a festival, Metaleros, and it's a
Metaleros.
festival in Germany. We played there in 2023.
Nice.
Yeah,
That's completely rad. And and but it would be the same thing as like, you having to take two trains and a bus to the show to get there. I would have to take a plane and a rent a car to get to Hell's
of course.
Heroes
Yeah.
because it's 1,100 miles from me.
Europeans sometimes forget how big United States really are because
Oh
we're
yeah.
like, yeah, in Europe, you can practically, I mean, if you're from Serbia and you're going to Germany, to the northern part of Germany. So the most north,
Yeah.
I where Vaken is. You're gonna need, I think, maybe 15-hour drive, and that's nothing. That's nothing.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
about the same.
compared.
That's about what
Yeah,
it would be for me right now to go to Houston, where Hell's Heroes is. It would be
yeah,
about 12, 13 hours.
drive.
Yeah, a drive. Yeah.
Yeah,
Now
yeah,
flying, it would be like 2 hours.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
a 2 hour flight. Uh, or if I were to go to Los Angeles, it would be, it would be technically a 1 hour flight because we go through three time zones, but it's
Oh,
a four
yeah,
hour flight.
yeah,
Like I
yeah.
would leave here at 7 o'clock and would
And
get
you'll be
there at
there
eight
at 8.
o'clock
Yeah, yeah,
their time. Yes.
yeah.
Where it would be
But
11 back home.
but essentially, if you can go to a place just by driving in less than a day, then it's not so far away.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Which Legions of Metal is roughly about 5 hours for me as a drive.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah, like it's totally cool. You're absolutely right. If it's within a day drive, then it's not that far. You should might
No,
as well do it.
yeah,
I mean, because what else do you have? What else is there going on? There can't be much else. I mean, of course,
of
there's
course.
everything, but it's new music. It's awesome music. And now I want to switch over to the derailed segment. This is five random questions about you as a person.
Okay.
Of course, we're all musicians by trade and whatever, so music always gets seems to get brought up in these. But just keep in mind that there doesn't always have to be a musical answer to any of these. If you had to dedicate the rest of your life to a cause, what would it be?
Oh, well, I I must say it it would have to be something connected to music. I
Sure.
cannot imagine myself doing anything else. I mean, besides the job, regular job that I have, but
Right. But if you could dedicate to a cause, like
ah,
I don't know, like in America, we have a lot of places where you said music, and it reminds me of where in America there's music being taken out of a lot of school systems. So they're
yeah,
not learning how to read music in elementary school and stuff like that, where most places still have a music, an art form style
I can
class.
see that. I can see that. We have some musicians here who are huge in metal scene in Serbia who uh, constantly are helping young kids to develop their music skills, and they have this uh, camp for young kids who want to learn to play guitar, drums, whatever, and it's mostly the members of the bands like Jenner or Nemesis. I think you heard at
Sure.
least for one of those bands.
Yeah,
So they're doing great stuff with that. So I perhaps I could see myself doing something similar.
that's amazing. Hell yeah. Mine, I think is doing what I'm doing now. This is the cause that I'm doing right now. I'm, you know, introducing people to new bands, whether they like it or not.
Yeah, they must
Right.
hear.
Um, do you prefer cereal or oatmeal?
Oh, oatmeal, definitely.
I would go with that. A nice, even just even just oatmeal with that little bit of butter and that little bit of sugar, like tiny bit of
Sure,
it, mix
I
that
cannot.
in.
Uh,
Warm breakfast is always better than cold breakfast
of
any
course,
day.
of course. I was having oatmeal just the other morning, and my wife likes to put some cocoa in it,
Ooh.
and not sugar at all, because I have diabetes type 2,
Ah,
so
yes.
I don't, yeah, I don't eat sugar that much. And
Me
we put
too.
some honey. Yeah, we put some honey, just a spoon of honey in the
Yeah.
oatmeal, and it's
Yeah,
great.
it doesn't take a lot, you know. That's how I usually sweeten my tea with that actually, with honey.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
just
we
because.
we don't use regular milk. We use almond milk or something like that, and
Okay.
it's good. It's good.
Right on. Now I'm gonna leave this and I'm gonna go make oatmeal instead for
Yeah,
lunch.
yeah. Me too.
I'm gonna have oatmeal for lunch and you're gonna have it
Uh,
for dinner. Um, do you believe in ghosts?
no, I'm totally. Uh, I'm a non-believer in anything, but sure, I'll give a chance for something to disprove my disbelief.
Okay. Well, yeah, because I mean, if you've never experienced weird things, it is kind of hard to believe in stuff like that. Or there are coincidence, and I always get the weird
Well,
thing in the corner of my eye,
uh, I I I actually experienced
and
some
you look
things
over
that
and
you
it's
can,
nothing there.
yeah, yeah. I experienced some things that you can uh, call supernatural or something like that. But I just think that uh, it just happened. I don't know. My wife heard the guitar playing by itself in a room where no one was there, and I was like, "Ah, get out of here." Maybe it's, air
Yeah,
circulating.
it could.
I don't
Hey,
know.
it could happen. I have a cat, which you met when we were before we started recording.
Yeah,
She likes to play
Diana.
guitar.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
likes to play guitar, and it freaks me out. And I hear it, and I'm like, "Oh, it's the cat."
Yeah,
And but in the middle of the night, I'll hear the hit, and I'm like, "What?"
yeah, yeah. It could be trippy.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, it totally can. Do you feel that your life is particularly balanced between everything, between like work, the band, uh, life outside of both of those, socially? Do you do you struggle to balance things?
Uh, I'm okay. I think my life is pretty balanced,
Okay.
because, and I'm not forcing it to be balanced. I would much prefer to have this music side over the regular job and stuff like that. But you deal with what you have and the time you got. And in the emotional sense, and professional sense, and health sense, everything like that, I think I'm even Steven. So whenever something bad happens, something good comes along soon after, and vice versa. So it's like that for me. You
Sure.
can call me even Steven.
Hey, no, no, that I think there's something poetic and beautiful in that where it's like that things are working the way probably supposed to for whoever that is.
Of course.
Like I might not think that my things are balanced, but in all actuality, they really kind of are. Here we are on a Saturday, a Saturday afternoon, you a Saturday evening, recording a podcast that's going to be put out at the end of January. That's
Yeah,
that's what we do. It's the balance of life and all of that.
sure, I agree. And I
Yeah.
think life as a thing is more balanced than it's weighing on one side or another. I think that the moments of great joy or great sadness are probably rare in the entire scheme of life. So
Which
Yeah,
which too is why I am such an advocate for mental health.
of course. Yeah,
You
that's
know,
that's so important.
because it does, there is such a stigma, especially in the United States with mental health. Like, you have to, everybody's on Prozac, or everybody's on a mental health drug. That doesn't necessarily mean that's a bad thing, but, you know, I think even if you go to a therapist and you have somebody to talk to. Like, honestly, this podcast is a lot of my therapy, because I get to talk to so many cool people and just share life experiences with. Like what we're doing now, conversing over this stuff. But yeah, mental health is something totally that I think everybody needs to, that'll balance. Once you find that balance, everything else will level itself out, I think.
Yeah, especially here in Serbia, it's a very still very conservative country where people don't uh, take mental health as serious as they should, because they would rather go to church to make a confession to the priest than go to a psychiatrist or psychologist for a professional talk. I have nothing
Sure.
against confessions or religion or stuff like that. It's just that I fail to see how a person who isn't qualified to to help
Sure.
in these matters can be a better alternative than professional person who is psychologist or psychiatrist.
Oh no, I totally agree with that. Yeah. Yeah, I don't understand that either with the whole church thing. So I have a couple more questions. One lighthearted one I want to ask. What's your favorite curse word?
Oh, believe it or not, I wasn't cursing at all until I met my wife, and she she cursed a lot. So she made a monster out of me, and we have some nice curses in Serbian, because Serbian is, I think, among five languages with the greatest curses. And one of my favorite is, uh, should I say it in Serbian?
Say it in Serbian and then translate.
In Serbian, we say "Marš u pičku materinu," and, and the literal translation is, uh, you say
It,
that to someone, and you say, uh, "Go back to your mother's vagina," but
yep, I
a
knew
lot
that.
dirtier. And
When I heard Pishka in there, I knew immediately where it was
yeah,
going.
yeah. Ah,
I had a friend
yeah.
from Bosnia, and that's
Same
a
language, same
similar,
people.
yeah, same word
Yeah,
for,
yeah.
yeah, uh
We're all southern Slavs, so southern Slavs have
sure.
practically the same language, whether it's
Okay.
Croatians, Serbians, Bosnians, Montenegrins. We all have practically, we understand each other perfectly. It's not like uh, it's like Czechs and Slovaks.
Sure.
They were Czechoslovakia back in the day, and they can perfectly understand each other. So do we.
That's awesome. Because like what I notice is interesting with that is like uh Mexican Spanish versus,
European, yeah,
Spain European Spanish, or Thailand Spanish. They're all Spanish, but they're all different dialects, and you
yeah.
have like the Incan and Aztec mixed in with the Mexican version, and even like California Spanish is still a little bit different than Mexican Spanish.
Course, yeah, yeah. The
So
and
that's wild that you now, do you all have like certain words that have double meanings like that as well. Like
Oh,
it could mean this or that depending on the dialect, or like the
no. I
Croatian
think,
version.
yeah, Croatian, uh, Serbian, Bosnian, Montenegrin, they're all
It's
practically
all the
the same.
same.
Yeah, yeah. There
Okay,
are a
that's
few
awesome.
words here and there that are very different in these languages, but essentially 90% of the words are the same.
I get that. And my would probably be motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite in English. Yeah, that's my favorite
Yeah.
in English.
Yep.
Definitely, yeah.
Hell yeah. So,
Or I often say "fuck my life." That's
oh
something I
yeah.
often say in
Yep.
English. Yeah,
Fuck my life. Yeah, I get it.
yeah, yeah.
I have one more question, but before we get to it, as always, links are listed below, so please give likes, shares, and follows. Go buy merch, go to the Bandcamp pages, go to the Storm Spell records pages, buy the pre-order when the album comes out, do everything that you can to support because that is where it's at, showing the support, listening to the music, following the bands. That's what's killer about what we have today in this music scene is just meeting awesome people like yourself and so
Thank
many
you,
other people
thank
that
you.
I get to talk to on this show. Vlad, do you have any shout outs or anything else you'd like to promote today?
Of course, I would like to tell your listeners to uh, try and listen to Claymorean. And if you're from Europe, especially from Germany, come see us on our tour with Crystallian in April. We'll start April 4th and we'll finish April 12th. So in those 7 shows, uh, come and see us and we'll have a great time and buy our new album, Eternal Curse, when it's out, of course.
Hell yeah. Definitely. And dude, like I totally hopefully we can get something lined up to where you all can come to the States. I
And
know
vice versa, or you can
2025 is
go
going
to
to be
Europe. Yeah.
hard. And us we're planning we're going to try and plan Europe in 2026, I think.
Nice. Nice.
So cuz just because of the visa fees and everything that stuff's about to start changing with the new year, so hopefully we can get stuff lined out, that would be awesome.
I
um
would
my
recommend to
fine
you to visit Keep It True Festival
Oh
and
yes,
Headbangers
that's on the
Open Air.
list.
Uh,
Keep It True's on the list, and like the Keep It True Rising,
yeah,
which
we
is
we
like the
played
night
at Keep It True
before.
Rising. Yeah, yeah. We
Yeah.
played at Keep It True Rising and Headbangers Open Air and Up the Hammers in
Yep.
Athens, also great
Yep.
festival.
Hell yeah.
Uh,
See, those are all those festivals that I wanna do, and so many friends that it's like going back to the first year of the podcast version of this show was so many friends were it's like I remember when lockdown happened and so many friends were like Randy from Blades of Steel
Let's
was
Steel.
like,
Yeah,
yeah, he
he
was
was
on
on.
his way
He was on.
over and got caught at the airport and had to turn around and come back and lost like 11-day trip to Greece and everything out of it because of the pandemic. And there were some other bands that I was friends with at the time that they had to turn around and come back, and it's like, oh my gosh, I
I
can only
actually,
imagine of.
yeah, I actually met
Yeah.
Randy in 2023. We played at Up the Hammers, and he was there, and he said, "Oh, it would be nice if you could come and play at Blades of Steel, but it would be very expensive to get us to."
Hey, that's where it starts though. That's
Yeah.
your charter right there. That's where it starts. That's where you book the tour. It's like
Yeah.
you've got it. You book the tour for it.
Yep. That
Oh,
would be
you,
great.
All you can do is
having
do
to
it.
tour in states. Yeah, yeah.
Here I'm telling that's what I do to my friends when they bring something up. I'm like, all you can do is do it. No time like the present.
Of course.
That's super rad. Dude, Vlad, I have one more question. Um, what do you think
No
would
math,
happen?
please.
What's that?
I said no math, please.
No math? No, no. Actually, it's science related. What do
Okay.
you think would happen if a person went into a black hole?
Well, according to physicists, yeah, it would be smashed into atoms. But
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it would pass to another dimension or something like that.
Could be.
We don't
I don't
know.
know. I think for me, it would feel like, I guess the only thing I could equate it to would be like endless falling.
Maybe, maybe,
Maybe. Because you never know what's on the other side.
of course. But according to physicists, we would be obliterated.
Dust,
Yeah.
space dust, stardust, or whatever it was in
But maybe
Rogue One.
maybe we would materialize on the other side. Who knows?
Maybe. Maybe it'd be something like Stargate.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. There we go. That's how we like to end the show on the Metal Forge or something silly like that.
Nice.
On our
Nice.
way out today, Vlad, thank you so much. This has been
Thank
awesome.
you, Mark. Thank
I
you. This
appreciate
was
you.
such an
And
honor.
on our way out today from Claymorean, what do you want to play?
Oh, if you have our latest, I believe this one, Ariok, Knight of the Swords, the first track, that would be great.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you have it on Spotify.
Yeah, absolutely. Here we go. As you heard him, Arya Knight of the Swords. Girl.
Aria.
Hey metalheads, you like tattoos? Of course you do. If you're in the Louisville, Kentucky area, come on over the bridge to Clarksville, Indiana, and get you some ink done at Ageless Art. If ink isn't your thing, they have a piercing studio as well. Visit agelessartclarksville.com to see some frequently asked questions, meet the staff. The shop is open Monday through Thursday, 12 to 8 p.m., Saturdays, 12 to 10 p.m., and Sundays, 12 to 6 p.m., all appointment-only spots. You can set up your appointments by phone at 812-283-1793 or email agelessarttattooandpiercing@gmail.com and someone will get you set up for your first or your next tattoo or piercing.
Hey metalheads, after going to a rager, what's your ultimate go-to? Mine is totally pizza. So when Overload is playing or I'm promoting the Metal Forge live showcases or the big goddamn metal show, I go to Pizza DoNisi. Pizza DoNisi is gourmet artisan pizza from right here in Louisville, Kentucky. It features things like the pizza of the month, the sandwiches, and also vegetarian and vegan options, which is so totally fucking cool for all of it's awesome pizza. You definitely want to go. Hey, and also from time to time they do cannolis. Oh, so fucking good. You know what they said, man? Leave the gun, take the cannoli. Yeah, just like that in Godfather. They're located right next to the Mag Bar at 1396 South 2nd Street. So either stop in or call in at 502-213-0488. They're open till midnight. The witching hour.
Heineken, fuck that shit! Pabst Blue Ribbon!
Hey metalheads, you all hear me talk about Mag Bar all the time. It is the home to the Metal Forge live showcases and is an integral stop in the ultimate underground metal tour schedule. They obviously feature live music, but the Mag Bar also has daily specials like Pint and Slice Night on Tuesdays with Pizza DoNisi. But they also do Bring Your Own Vinyl on Thursdays with DJ Kent Jackson, and Finer Things Sundays. Located right next to Pizza DoNisi at 1398 South 2nd Street, open 3 p.m. to 4 a.m. 7 days a week. Get your asses out to the Mag Bar. Rock out. For 45 years in keeping Louisville weird, Electric Ladyland has been there for all your eccentricities. While they do offer the best smoking supplies out on the market today, there's a whole lot more to check out. From ashtrays and blacklight posters, to records, incense and burners, and items to stock your metaphysical supply. They're open from 10 to 10, 7 days a week. Located at 2325 Bardstown Road in Louisville, Kentucky, and at electricladyland420.com.